The notification came through as I was shutting down my computer. An unsaved number, a single line, "You should go home, now." No explanation, no name. Just a command that pressed into my chest like a thumb against a bruise. I stared at the message longer than necessary, feeling that quiet internal shift, something slipping, something loosening. The kind of silence that arrives before a storm but pretends to be harmless. I replied once, "Who is this?" No response. The office was unusually still, almost staged. I could hear the hum of the ceiling lights, the slow tick inside my head counting down to something I couldn't name yet. I felt nothing on my face, but inside, something wary, something old began to stir. A part of me I didn't use anymore. I walked out without saying goodbye to anyone. I'm sure I looked calm. I've always been good at that, appearing composed while the ground shifts beneath me. Years of learning how to keep expression separate from emotion. Outside, the air felt heavy, like it already knew something I didn't. As I drove, every streetlight flickering past the windshield felt like a heartbeat. Faster, louder, thinner. Halfway home, the truth whispered itself. Not words, not images, just a feeling. A cold, metallic dread that pressed against the back of my ribs. Something was wrong inside my house. Something was waiting. And I already knew it had my name on it. My house looked normal when I pulled into the driveway. That was the first sign. The second sign was the silence. Not the calm kind. This silence had weight, purpose. It felt like the world holding its breath. My phone buzzed once more as I reached the front door. Upstairs. Still no name, no tone, just certainty. I didn't rush. Rushing is for people who are afraid of what they'll find. I walked in, placed my keys on the table, and listened. Nothing. No voices, no hurried footsteps, just the echo of my own breathing. But something was off. The faint scent of my wife's perfume, sweeter than usual, too strong, too fresh. I moved through the house slowly, almost clinically. My mind split into two, one part walking, the other watching from a distance, analyzing the smallest details. A jacket draped over the dining chair. Not mine, too familiar. A glass on the counter, two fingerprints, not hers. My heartbeat didn't change, my breathing didn't change, but something inside me froze, like a photograph trapped under ice. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a moment, letting the truth rise gently instead of tearing through my chest. There had been signs, tiny things, shifts in tone, shorter conversations, longer silences. But betrayal is a quiet creature. It waits until you're comfortable before showing its teeth. Halfway up the stairs, I felt something else, a flicker of anger, controlled, contained, almost surgical. It didn't burn, it sharpened. At the top step, I paused. I could hear them breathing, soft, rhythmic, two patterns, intertwined. I knew those rhythms. One belonged to her. The other belonged to the person I once trusted without question, my brother. And suddenly, the message made sense. I didn't open the door immediately. Instead, I stepped back into the hallway and leaned against the wall. My pulse stayed steady. My thoughts arranged themselves like pieces on a board. This wasn't shock. This wasn't disbelief. This was recognition. A truth I had sensed long before tonight. I pulled out my phone. I replayed the weeks leading to this moment. Her late nights, his excuses for visiting, the sudden closeness they pretended not to have. And then something else, the odd behavior from his wife, her distant tone, her abrupt avoidance whenever we met. I had written it off as unrelated, but betrayal has a way of overlapping lives like a stain. I opened his social media, scrolled, looked for patterns. There they were, tiny overlaps in their location tags hidden in plain sight, small enough to ignore, obvious enough for someone who had already started to doubt. I checked old messages, found gaps, holes, time frames that made too much sense now. Every detail stitched itself into a single clear fabric. I pressed record on my phone, quietly, without hesitation, and then I opened the bedroom door, slowly, clinically, as though I were observing a crime scene rather than walking into my own life. They didn't notice me at first. They were too absorbed, too tangled in each other to remember the world existed. When he finally looked up, he froze. Then he smirked. A slow, triumphant curl of the lip, as if he had won, as if I were the one who had something to lose. I felt nothing. Just a measured, calculated calm. I said only one thing. I just sent your wife a video of you two. The smirk collapsed instantly. His face shattered into panic. Real, raw, ugly. And in that moment, I knew the real betrayal had never been hers. It had always been his. He lunged forward, desperate, half-naked, stammering my name like it might save him. But I stepped back, letting his desperation spill into the air. "Why would you? What did you do? Tell me you're lying!" His voice cracked with every word, but I stayed silent. My silence was the blade. His fear was the wound. My wife scrambled for the sheets, clutching them as if modesty could save her. She whispered my name, soft, trembling, reaching for sympathy she no longer had a claim to. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on him. The man who grew up next to me, ate at my table, laughed with me, borrowed what he couldn't earn. The man who stole what was mine because he could never build anything of his own. I didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't ask why. I already knew the answers. I took my phone out again, played the clip, loud enough for them both to hear the breaths, the whispers, the betrayals. Their own voices turning into evidence they could never undo. His face broke first. Hers followed. I felt nothing. Only confirmation. I walked to the edge of the bed, placed my phone on the dresser, and said quietly, "Her name is already on it. She's watching." He collapsed, actually collapsed, hands in his hair, screaming that I'd ruined him, as if he hadn't done it to himself long before I arrived. My wife crawled closer, eyes wide, pleading for a chance to explain what didn't need explaining. Betrayal never requires translation. It speaks fluently on its own. I picked up my jacket from the chair. He grabbed my arm. I pulled it free. Gently, cleanly. He begged. She cried. The room shook with everything they were losing. But I remained still. I turned to him one last time. "I didn't ruin your marriage. You did." He tried to speak, but his voice broke again. I let the silence finish for him. I walked out of the house the same way I walked in. Quiet, calm, controlled. The air felt lighter now, as if the truth had cleared it. In the driveway, my phone buzzed. A message from his wife. "Thank you. I needed to know." I didn't reply. Some truths speak for themselves. When I sat in the car, I looked back once, not at them, but at the window where everything had changed. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't break you. It reveals who was already broken. I started the engine, exhaled once, slowly, and then I drove away from the life they destroyed. Not grieving, not angry, just free. Some endings don't need closure. They just need witnesses.